a fire under the Afghan government to get on with recruiting the size forces they need and getting them trained and getting them into the field. I don't know a better way to do that than what we have.
Huh. Welcome back to Morning Joe. I'm getting excited now. Joining us now for the political roundtable, Republican representative from Illinois, Congressman Aaron.
Now, I don't know how the congressman did it, but you know they have a constitutional requirement. You got to be at least 25 years old. What was the waiver? What was the waiver? How did you get in? You're like our friend Sorkin.
Andrew
Sorkin. You old.
Really?
Yeah. 28. That's great. So we're talking about Afghanistan this morning an awful lot. Are you supportive of the president's policy?
You know, I am. I think it's the necessary next step in stabilizing that region and defeating the Taliban, which is not only important to the Afghanis and a nuclear Pakistan next door, but most importantly, it's important to our own national security. And we've got one commander-in-chief. Obviously, this was a tough political call for him. And I think after looking at it for 3 months, to come back and support General McChrystal's request, who's the commander in the field. Obviously, you know, we have information as members of Congress, but the president has more than any of us, and I support his call and his effort.
But some of the administration had real problems getting to this, Bob.
Yeah, but he brought it together. I mean, what's interesting, Joe was asking, you're going to go to Afghanistan later this month, and one of the paradoxes in all of this, on the ground, what the troops are doing, yes, they're fighting the Taliban, but they also, under the counterinsurgency doctrine, are to protect the Afghan people, live with them. You know, a company of 200 troops or Marines are out there, and they're really partnering with the people, getting to know them, and so forth. And the problem is, the better they do that, the more they extend the reach of the Karzai bad government. And so in succeeding, you can empower Karzai, who we have
a corrupt leader.
And that is something that hasn't really been identified in all of this, and it makes it very, very difficult to conduct this kind of different war.
Bob, who's got the presence here? Is it Gates that has the presence here?
Gates has a lot of say in this, not totally, but indeed he does. And, you know, for Gates to go out there, this surprise trip, and go tell the troops we're here to win. Now, as has been pointed out, that's not a word the president used in his speech. No. He didn't talk about winning.
Congressman, with all due respect to Secretary Gates, how in the hell do you win a war in Afghanistan? We could stay there 100 years, and the Pashtuns will be there 100 years longer.
Right. Well, I think...
What is victory to you?
Well, I think it's similar to the situation in Iraq, where you have a growing local security force. Obviously, we have first a responsibility to secure the region, to protect some national security interests there, to make sure that they're not plotting attacks against our country. But second, it's to allow them to hopefully grow their own security forces so that we can eventually begin to draw down and pull back. But as Mr. Woodward mentioned, the problem is...
Everybody's calling you Mr. Who's going to be the president?
Sir.
Mike Allen, Congressman, you're sir.
No, not at all.
Well, but he's right. The Karzai government is the red herring and the difficulty here for us, because there's not a lot of trust.
Gene, there's another big difficulty, though, and that's next door in Pakistan.
There you
Just
go. Or maybe
today, the High Court in Pakistan got a blue ribbon report saying that President Zardari received something like $1.5 billion in ill-gotten gains through corrupt practices, and he's covered by this blanket amnesty that's been given to office holders, which the High Court may strike down. This is the next constitutional crisis in a series of constitutional crises in Pakistan, and it's a real mess.
And you know, it gets very confusing, but that's where Al-Qaeda is in Pakistan. That is the real threat to our country and our allies and friends and so forth. And Pakistan itself is a country under assault, not just the corruption and the political assault, but there are bombings there all the time. Well, it sounds like downtown Baghdad. You know, 80 people killed, 40
Everybody
people
makes
killed.
a Vietnam analogy, but let's make this analogy. What we're trying to do right now is trying to change the government in Cambodia by sending troops to Vietnam. That's what we're doing in Pakistan. If you want to take out Pol Pot, go into Cambodia. Don't go into Vietnam.
Yeah, I mean, but what they did is they've come up with a balanced program, and there are going to be things that the classified forces and the special ops people maybe are going to do in Pakistan that will change some of the game there. But this, you know, look, it's no, get in Obama's head for a moment. It is no picnic to inherit a war that you are losing.
Right, and Congressman, it's no picnic if you're a Democrat running in the state of Illinois in 2010 when you've got the president talking about sending Gitmo prisoners to the land of Lincoln.
Yeah, well, you know, this is after he tried Kansas and tried Michigan, and now he's coming back to his home state. And I would say it's not any more popular there. The Congress has voted on a number of occasions to stop appropriations, stop federal funds to close
You're against
Gitmo.
it.
I'm against it. I had the chance to visit Gitmo in May, and quite frankly, despite all of the bad press, was very impressed with the facility.
Is it a national security risk, though? Is it sending Gitmo prisoners to Illinois, is that a threat to the people of that state, of your state?
Well, let's back up. Why are we closing Gitmo? It's because of the perception of that detention facility, of a detention facility. I would suggest to you that moving Gitmo from Cuba to Illinois does not do away with the problem of detaining these criminals. And more importantly, the question of where they should be tried is extremely unpopular with the American people. They want them tried in military courts, not in civilian courts here in U.S. soil.
Gene?
Well, I've written about this. I happen to think it was the right thing to do to close Guantanamo, precisely because of that. Because I think it was acting against U.S. interests around the world.
The perception.
The perception, but perception counts. And Guantanamo had come to be shorthand for Abu Ghraib, for the occupation of Iraq and the war in Afghanistan and everything else. Yeah. And this perceived war against Muslims. Guantanamo came to symbolize a lot. I think it was right to shut it down.
You know, Bob, the congressman wasn't even born. Jimmy Carter talked then young Governor Bill Clinton into taking detainees from Cuba.
Yes, that's right.
Did not end well for Bill Clinton.
Right, that's true. But the question was an important one. Is it a national security threat to move those prisoners to Illinois?
Well, look, I don't believe it's a good idea whether it's moved to Illinois, Michigan, or Kansas. And
you're deflecting the question.
Is it a national security threat? Because it actually creates a lot of jobs.
Illinois would be less safe.
Because you'd be opting out on the opportunity to create a good number of jobs.
Yeah, look, I'm not gonna fearmonger and say, look, there's going to be a tax in Illinois if this is moved. I would say it's an unnecessary threat to move 100 to 200 known terrorists to the United States soil. Right now, they're on an island where no one can reach them, and moving them to the Midwest of our country isn't necessary.
Congressman, you're obviously still young and naive. Fear-mongering, a wonderful tactic in politics. Right. Congressman Aaron Schock, thank you so much for being with us. What's next?
Next, the #1 moments in sports history. What are they? Len Berman gives us his take when we come back. Also, the latest on the breaking news on Tiger Woods. Keep it right here on Morning Joe, brewed by Starbucks.